Hi there, everyone. Welcome to another Writer's Rant, brought to you by Camille's Harem. Not just a podcast for novice writers by novice writers, but also a YouTube channel by novice writers for novice writers. Because writing is an adventure, it's more fun with friends. And what I want to rant about today in this video is this. Why do people continue to use tropes that really have nothing to do with your story? Here's the thing. Stories are made up of tropes. Tropes are basically the names that we've given to various kinds of situations, archetypes, character types, events within a story that just help it move along. No story is without its tropes. However, we've gotten to a point in writing where people are just throwing in tropes that they enjoy into a story without really realizing what it is that they're putting in. For example, how many stories actually need a love triangle trope? Not that many. In fact, there's a whole lot of stories that just simply put in all of these kinds of romances and whatnot simply to up the drama, but it is so fake. It is unearned. It is fluff that takes away from actual character development and from plot developments. Because if you're dedicating so much time to all of these romances that are actually not meant to get anywhere, those romances should at least help build up the characters. But here's the thing. A romance is not the only thing that makes up an individual. We want to learn about their backstory, their personality, their likes, their dislikes, their skill sets, what their goals are and everything. And so many times people are like, well, we added those things in through the dialogue as they're speaking with the people that they're flirting with. Well, whoop-de-doo. So it's in their dialogue. You know what's way more meaningful? When characters actually act out those skills, act out those goals, and they show us the consequences of their history. We might even get a flashback. Wouldn't that be nice? But no, we got all of these pointless romances. Or let me go for another trope that's just like, what the heck is this? What the heck is this? I don't fully understand this one. Why is it that so many manhwa must have scenes or even full-on arcs where people go to hotels to crash high-end parties? Okay, I get it. High-end parties can happen at crazy, ridiculous hotels. It happens all the time amongst the lives of the rich and fabulous. And yet, why is it that we have here in this fantasy world, we must now go to this high-end hotel to overthrow this party of rich scumbags? No, it's not needed. If you're in a fantasy world, more likely the rich scumbags are all in their palace, not at a hotel. Oh, this is a story about people obtaining great godly powers in modern day Korea. You know what we need to do? We need to go to a hotel to overthrow some partying scumbags. Why? Well, because they happen to have a piece of jade that we need in order to unlock more powers. Why? You could have had like a really cool heist scene where you got to break into someone's vault or break into a bank or break into some crazy fort to steal this magical piece of jade. No, we must have it at this hotel. And the thing is this, is that as a result of putting in these high-end hotels with these crazy rich scumbag parties into these stories that don't need them, it just feels forced. You already are like, well, can I skip a couple of chapters? Yes, I can, and I haven't missed anything. And that's the problem. These kinds of tropes distract from the story, and you feel like you can just skip on ahead, and you will have missed barely anything. Another trope that totally grinds my gears that doesn't always need to be in there is, I am the angsty teen with the horrible family who they don't understand me. And yes, I get that a lot of teenagers feel that way at one point in their life, but not every story involving a teenager must have it, because guess what? There are plenty of teenagers who at the time of watching this either haven't had that moment or they are someone who has already gone through that and then realized, hey, you know what? I actually love my family. I don't need to be angsty. I don't need to be weird. That's not me. And those kinds of stories and those kinds of portrayals can actually also be very relevant and very identifiable for the audience. You don't need to always go the weird angsty route. The thing is this, the reason why this and just so many other dumb tropes, and you can insert any dumb trope you want in here, from weird unnecessary fan service to that the mentor figure must die, all of these tropes are put on in there mostly because writers feel that they need to use these tropes as hooks to pull people on in and keep them captivated. Why? Well, because another famous story did it. Coming back to the love triangle, and specifically love triangles between people of just vastly different personalities, even to the point where they're different species, was made incredibly popular thanks to Twilight. Now then, we can argue all day long about whether or not the love triangle for Twilight works or not, and if that was really what Stephenie Meyer was even gunning for from the beginning. But the fact of the matter is that it happened, it worked for a lot of people, and so as a result, so many other authors wanted to capitalize on what they thought was popular about Twilight, and then create their own ridiculous love triangles with these crazy polar opposites, even crazy polar opposite species, in order to try to pull people's heartstrings, be like, hey, we're just like Twilight, love my story too. But the thing is this, people love stories because they like the characters, because they can get lost in the world that you've created, because they enjoy the progression of the plot, however it goes. A story is carried by its tropes. It's not made by its tropes. And it's very clear when someone is writing more of the tropes and just attaching people and characters and plots almost like decorations to the tree of a trope. And it's like, it's kind of like Charlie Brown's Christmas, where Charlie Brown gets the really small twig for a tree, puts one bulb on it, and then it bends over and nearly breaks. Why is that? Well, because a trope cannot sustain an entire story. A trope cannot sustain an entire character. Instead, the trope is the mechanism by which that character progression happens, or by which the plot progression happens. So if you want to have your love triangle, then make those three characters interesting. Make the potential romances viable. Get us to care about them. You want to go and ruin some party that's thrown by some rich scumbags in a hotel? Fine. Make that an important part of your story, not just a little forgettable chapter that someone can skip on over. Make it a place where we get to meet some of the reoccurring characters, where the skill sets of your heroes are shown off. Maybe this is the inciting incident that then allows for the rest of the story to happen. Make it actually part of the story and not just some chapter for a character to get a power-up or to have some sort of little revenge plot. This happens way too often in manga, and I hate it. You want to have an angsty teen character? Absolutely fine. Help that character to progress to become someone and something else, and not just be a little ball of angst, because after a while that just gets boring. We've seen it happen way too often. And really know what tropes are. They are the mechanisms by which character progression and plot progression happen. And you can use tried and true tropes. You can even use tired tropes if you wish, so long as you make your story interesting and make your characters engaging. You can go ahead and kill off the mentor figure if you want. Make it cool, make it epic, make it something like we haven't seen before, or make us really care about this mentor before you put a knife in his or her heart. But please, don't just throw it in because you've seen other people do it with their own stories and it worked well enough for them, because that's just boring. That is unoriginal. And what people want to see is they want to see you use these tropes in an original and engaging, interesting, fun way. Which, yeah, can be a little bit difficult, but it is absolutely worth it if you put in the time to make it work. So thank you for coming to my writer's rant. Know how to use your tropes well. Don't just simply throw them in as the spice to your story, because it actually makes for a really bland spice. And it's something that isn't needed. The spice is your characters. The spice is your plot. Your spice is the world that you create, that you invite your audience into. That is what people want to see. So those are my thoughts on the misuse of tropes. And oh boy, this is just the beginning of a longer conversation we can have, and it's one that I would love to have with you in the comments below. Please let me know what you think about tropes that have been misused, that have been abused, or completely misunderstood. And if you'd like to support the work that we're doing here on YouTube, please check out the books that we've published. Links for them are in the description below. And until the next video, y'all, thank you for joining us on this adventure that we call writing. Even though sometimes it gets a little bit annoying, but it's a great one to go on. and choose.